From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
Good evening and welcome to this special edition of Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Melanie Porter. Thank you for joining us. Tonight, from the NCAA's decision on player compensation to a behind-the-scenes look at ASU's equipment team, here are some of the top sports stories from here in Phoenix and our LA bureau.
On Monday, California Governor Gavin Newsom signed a law into existence allowing college athletes to benefit off of their likeness. This has caused a stir across the country, including right here in Arizona. Cronkite News reporter Matthew Roy has a reaction from those in the Valley of the Sun.
Thank you, Chris. Paying college athletes has been a conversation for years, but recently it's picked up a lot more steam. With California passing this bill on Monday, key Arizonans are still split on the impact that this will have on collegiate athletics.
Arizona State head football coach Herm Edwards said before the pay-to-play bill was signed that it would equate to an unequal playing field.
It'll give the California schools an advantage in recruiting, to be quite honest. I think you're opening Pandora's box.
One key that was said by Newsom and NBA star LeBron James on Monday was that it would help athletes that come from impoverished areas to make some money while also getting their education, and Edwards agrees.
And for a lot of these young men or women that are student athletes, according to where they come from, that's important to them. You know, I can make extra money. I get extra benefits.
However, for current college athletes like ASU running back Eno Benjamin, he isn't really concerned with this law much because, well, it won't really affect him.
Really, I'm sort of indifferent. I see the sides, I see pros and I see cons, and so that's not for me to decide.
But many have been saying,
it's going to change college football, big time.
But Victoria Jackson, a former ASU national champion track and field star and now sports historian and ASU professor, has different thoughts.
You know, there's a lot of concerns and fear-mongering that the whole thing is going to change fundamentally, but I don't think it's going to change all that much.
There have been statements this week from both the NCAA and the Pac-12 conference on the signing of this bill, but this line from the Pac-12 on how it will adversely affect women's sports has Jackson up in arms.
If they cared about women's sports, they'd be doing more to encourage women to stay in coaching. If they cared about women's sports, they wouldn't count men who practice with women's teams as women for Title IX compliance. I mean, it's just so tired. It's disingenuous, and it's really frustrating.
Legislation is continuously being discussed nationwide, but Jackson thinks something will get done before California's law takes effect in 2023. In the Media Center, Matthew Roy, Cronkite News.
Chandler High School, Coolidge, Mesquite, Brophy, Verrado, just a few high schools across the valley with one thing in common. Over the last few years, they made a head coaching change. Another similarity, the newly hired head coach was white. I took a deeper look at how and why certain coaches aren't being hired. Out of the 16 football teams in the 2018 6A playoffs, not a single one had an African-American head coach. With districts and administrations responsible for the hiring process, Scott Brooks, director of research at Arizona State's Global Sport Institute, says the issue of coach diversity goes far beyond winning and losing.
Let's focus and let's do it.
All coaches of color are primarily defensive, and that goes back historically to ideas and theories around stacking, where you have players are stacked into positions based upon race and ethnicity.
Now, Brooks said historically players of color have been pushed to outside positions that reflect more athleticism, whereas white players are brought to the positions that require more critical thinking, such as quarterback, center, and middle linebacker. But when it comes time to hang up the cleats and start coaching, well, it's the players who were once credited as being thinkers that become head coaches.
Skyline on 3, 1, 2, 3!
Skyline! Skyline head coach George Hawthorne is one former non-quarterback who did manage to get hired, and his only request is equality.
I just want equal ground. So when I go interview, I want to interview on equal ground. I don't want to interview on higher ground. I don't want to interview on lower ground. I want to interview on equal ground. I want George Hawthorne to speak for George Hawthorne.
And when Hawthorne does speak for himself, he wants it to be about more than his playing experience.
I really believe that the game has a lot to offer. And it's not about the score on Friday night. It's not about the touchdowns that a kid may score. It's about the life lessons that a kid gets from this game.
So what's the solution to systemic racism on the field? Well, David Hines, the executive director of the Arizona Interscholastic Association, outlined the issue.
As I look around the state, we tend to be more Caucasian in some of these positions, whether it's at the superintendency level, principal level, athletic director level, coaches.
And Brooks has the possible solution.
I think you have to have more athletic directors of color. You have to have more women and women of color in these positions in sports. So we've got to create more and more openings.
One female high school athlete has already made history, becoming the first female Arizona State wrestling champion in her weight division earlier this year. But now she's being noticed for her work ethic as a member of the high school varsity football team. Reporter Serena Perez also learned more about why she didn't try out in the past.
Like any other high school football team, the Mesa Skyline Coyotes are working to improve their skills and conditioning. But what they have that most high schools don't? Icebox, the nickname given to their female running back, who is also the first AIA state champion in her weight division in the girls wrestling.
Julia has a work ethic that's unmatched. It's as good as anybody on this team. She comes to work, she works hard every day. She's one of the leaders in the weight room. She's one of the leaders on the field.
Julia Chambers has dedicated her life to sports, including wrestling, track and field, cross country, and now football. And she says in the past, she always had a feeling she wanted to try out for football, but it was other people's opinions that held her back.
There were some adults that were like iffy about it, mostly for my safety, but there are some that are just against it. Like I still have some today that I have told that I'm in football and they just laugh at me, but I just deal with it, and it's like your opinion, and if I want to do it, I'm gonna go do it.
Chambers first played football in the 6th grade and says there is also a lot of support behind her.
All the guys support me. Most of them I actually played with when I was in 6th grade.
Not only is the team helping her, but Coach George Hawthorne says she is also by their side.
Her impact on the team has been tremendous. She's forced some of the boys to have to pick it up a little bit. You know, when they watch her giving everything, then they have to decide I have to give a little bit more.
Hawthorne says girls have always shown interest in playing football and doesn't know if Chambers on the team will inspire more to come out, but he can't help feel inspired by her.
Her cheering section on a Friday night is pretty awesome. Every time she touches the ball or she's on the field, you know, people are cheering for her, and it's pretty inspiring to me. You know, I get goosebumps every time I hear it.
And yes, she has been hit hard. Her bell has been rung, but she still loves football. In Mesa, I'm Serena Perez, Cronkite News.
Drownings can happen in a moment's notice, and lives can be altered forever.
And when it does happen, many are left with the same question: what happens next?
Reporter Trey Bates has the story of one mother that has dealt with this unfortunate circumstance. Trey?
As the weather begins to change in the Valley of the Sun, accidents in water continue to happen. And when it came to this mother, she wasn't prepared for what happened next. The day started just like any other for Eliza Casara's heart, that quickly turned to tragedy.
It's too quiet. Where is he? Where is he? And I looked in his hiding places, in the garage, underneath the bed. And that's when I opened up the sliding glass door and I saw him down at the bottom of the pool.
Her son, Eric, and his twin brother had been playing at their grandmother's home in Peoria. And what was a normal day turned into every parent's worst nightmare. Devastated by the day's events, she had nowhere to go until the Drowning Prevention Coalition of Arizona reached out to her.
It gave me another outlet. I felt, that first year in a cloud of darkness. I didn't know what else to do. I wanted to protect my other 2 children. I didn't want them to have the same thing happen to them. It finally gave me a chance to tell my story and know that there's people out there that are passionate about preventing this.
The Drowning Prevention Coalition's website includes reports from January 1st to September 30th, where 4 deaths to children under the age of 6 have already occurred, a jump from the previous year in which only 1 child had died in Maricopa and Pinal counties. President Melissa Sutton shared what steps to take to avoid this from happening to anyone else.
A is for adult supervision. That's going to be active, sober, vigilant, and constant, because it just takes a few seconds for a child to slip away, and that's when bad things happen. B is for barriers, and that's going to be your fences, your alarms on the doors, covers over pools. It's going to be a plethora of different selections that people have out there. And then the C is multi-pronged. It's for classes, courses, and U.S. Coast Guard approved life vests. We want kids to get started as soon as possible. They've got those swim lessons, so when that motivated child, that highly motivated child, gets past whatever barriers you've put in place, if they fall in, they potentially could save themselves in that situation.
With these steps in mind, as well as remaining attentive around water, John Hinman, director of the EVO Swim Schools, shared his thoughts on child safety.
Never be more than an arm reach away. Always have eyes on the water, always have eyes on our children first and foremost. Get in the water and start training, start learning. Once we start having that basic knowledge and respect of the water, safety builds, and that's the biggest thing. That's what we're about, building that confidence, building that safety from the ground up. That's our goal.
By keeping our attention on the water and those around it can help to avoid life-threatening events from happening. In Arizona, the pool can be a place to gather together and have fun during the hot summer months. But even when it isn't, it is important to remain safe and aware around water. In the Media Center, I'm Trey Bates, Cronkite News.
Indie wrestling companies are grooming local talent and recruiting former WWE superstars. And one Arizona company is looking for locals to sign up for their academy in Tucson this weekend.
Reporter Erica Morris went to a match at the Fox Theater in Pomona, California to find out about life in the ring for these amateurs and retired pros who show them the ropes.
Cactus League Wrestling, an independent company on the rise, is giving wrestling fans
less promos and more action.
Adam Dobris, who founded the company in 2018, wanted to give the unknown heroes and heels of wrestling the chance to shine.
Bringing in all the guys that have a chance. I mean, some of these guys are phenomenal, just no one's been able to see them.
He also brings in former WWE talent to provide veteran wrestlers with
an outlet of, hey, you know, we're back in something, you know, that's growing big.
James Ellsworth, whose career has mainly been in the indie circuit, had a brief stint in WWE after fighting for 14 years to get there.
So when you see a flyer for a show and you see former WWE guys, you're like, oh, this promotion means business. They want to attract people, they want to draw good crowds, and they want to have good shows. So for wrestlers, they're like, I need to be on that show because everybody's on that show.
And for Seville Alvarez, that's exactly what happened.
I was walking across the street after a WWE show, and I got a flyer, and they said, would you like to train to be a professional wrestler? And I was like, well, yeah, it's been my dream the whole time.
Alvarez has been living out his dream for 11 years, waiting for his shot on the main stage.
If somebody from the mainstream, a scout, is looking and going, who's this kid? Yeah, let me take a look at him. Boom, I got a contract. I'm famous, baby. You know, something like that. So, you know, I'm waiting for that. I'm waiting for that, you know, that call one day. And it will be because of the fans. Yeah.
And the fans? They're pleased with the fresh faces that bring new life to independent matches.
Harder work. I see more of a work ethic, less complacency. I see them being more connected with the fans.
That connection is what drives each show, giving indie wrestlers more chances to prove themselves.
We're just growing and growing and growing and growing. And with the fan support, you know, it just can continue.
And from the looks of it, the fans aren't going anywhere. In Pomona, California, Erica Morris, Cronkite News.
An active senior lifestyle can add 5 years to your life, and a local senior community in Goodyear is keeping active in an annual softball league.
Reporter Madison Carter joins us in the studio. Madison, what makes this league one of a kind?
Yes, well, the Pebble Creek Senior Softball Association opened its annual softball league this month, marking the league's 25-year anniversary. This 15-team co-ed league only expects to keep growing and playing. The start to a new season is underway for the Pebble Creek Senior Softball Association. 180 residents in the Robeson Resort community participate in the league.
It's a lot of fun to come out. The guys are great. The league is wonderful. I'm vice president this year, so it's fun to be on the board and be a kid again.
The seniors play 3 games a week with practice days in between. And with all of the action, it's easy to forge friendships with one another.
It's the camaraderie of the whole thing. It's just that friendship that you establish. It's like a bunch of brothers. You know, you just come out and have fun.
It's one of the most enjoyable things about this league is that everybody out here and everybody on the field, you know.
Since the Pebble Creek Senior Softball Association has been around for now 25 years, the association has grown in many ways, including changes to the field and the addition of new teams in the league.
One of the big things is the field. The field is much better because when we started on a little league field.
Every year, it seems like we have more and more teams. And this year we have 15 teams, and we have improvements to the field. We have a new scoreboard this year, new fencing, some new sod in the outfield.
With some of the players participating for many of the 25 years the league has been around, they already know what teams are the ones to beat this season.
Questar. I know they won last year, the league championship. They've got a great team, great bunch of guys.
Oh, well, Osborne Jewelers. We're the team to beat, absolutely. My team.
The league lets it be known that the games are just friendly competition. And although some do come to win, for others, the fact that they just get to play is all that matters.
I'm here to play. I don't care whether I win or lose. I just want to play. I mean, how many people at 80 years old get a chance to play softball? Not very many.
The teams play every Tuesday and Thursday, and they will play 38 games total this season.
The FBI is looking to hire 1,000 special agents nationwide this year.
And they're encouraging anyone interested to apply, so I went out to Grand Canyon University yesterday to see if I had what it takes. So you want to be a special agent in the FBI? Well, get ready for one of the longest and most strenuous job interviews of your life. Before you even get to the more traditional parts of the interview, you have to pass a physical fitness test. And it's no walk in the park. I should know.
We never know what's going to happen. We never know who we might encounter. We never know what situation we might be in. If you do get engaged with criminals who are very aggressive, you need to be able to handle yourself, defend yourself, and defend those around you.
Participants are awarded points based off their performance, and while a perfect score is 40, only 12 points are needed to pass the fit test.
Even when you think you've reached that minimum score, go beyond that. Don't come out here prepared just to do the minimum. Come out here to do the maximum.
It all starts with 60 seconds of sit-ups, then a 300-meter sprint, followed by as many push-ups as you can do, and then a 1.5 mile run. And with just 5 minutes break in between each event, well, things get a little tough. While my score of 8 isn't high enough to make me a special agent today, I received some advice from across the board that will help me come back next time a little stronger.
Prepare and train, continue to train.
Anyone can apply to become a special agent. In fact, the Bureau looks for diversity in its applicants in their previous careers, gender, and ethnicity.
This is not just your typical from the military, from the police department, you go here. Absolutely not. We have people who are HR reps, we have teachers, lawyers, but anyone who has an interest in this can hit apply.
And to make it even easier, the FBI has launched an app to help people prepare for the fit test.
We have an app, FBI Fit Test app. It's a little blue icon, free, designed by the FBI to help you.
The FBI encourages anyone interested in the Bureau to download the app and check out FBI.gov for extra resources on how to best be the perfect fit for the job. And now the need for agents is the result of a hiring freeze in the late 90s. And with the career of a special agent lasting around 20 years, there's an increasing number of positions opening up right now. You can get more information at FBI.gov.
A group of students at Northern Arizona University is encouraging newcomers to take a whack at their niche sport.
Cronkite sports reporter Mackenzie Pavicic went to Flagstaff to get an idea of what logging sports are all about.
Throughout the year, this sound cuts through the tranquility of the Centennial Forest in Flagstaff. It's a group of lumberjacks and Jills at Northern Arizona University. Housed under the School of Forestry, the logging team competes in regional and national events year-round, with their sights set on the biggest competition in the spring.
The point of logging sports is kind of to demonstrate the old-time logging practices that used to go on.
The program was started in the late 50s and after a short hiatus returned to Flagstaff in 2008. Now, women in the sport are axing gender stereotypes, proving that lumberjacks aren't just men. NAU's team currently consists of around 20 members, and nearly half are women.
Oh, lumberjacks, it's only guys. But girls, we're right next to the guys. We chop alongside them, we train alongside each other.
It's amazing, I think. There's, numerous women that are far better than any man I've ever seen. I think that's pretty neat to see.
Eliana Castro has been a part of the NAU team for 5 years, and she says in that short time, she's seen a growth in women participants.
There's quite a bit more now, which is good. You know, ups the competition, makes me feel like I'm actually earning that spot.
Members of the team say they spend most of their free time together.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time together. This sport is very time consuming. There's so many little things that a lot of other sports don't have to do, like you don't have to go out and harvest footballs. When you do that kind of stuff with your friends, you know, it really builds like kind of a family dynamic.
The logging team may not be considered varsity athletes, but that doesn't stop them from representing their school. After all, they are seen as the true lumberjacks of NAU.
3 years ago, beach volleyball went from an emerging sport to an NCAA Division I competition, and officials say it's become one of the fastest growing collegiate sports.
Our reporter Erica Morris went to California State University Northridge to find out what draws people to the sport and how it landed 3 Arizonans a place in the sand at CSUN.
Lauren McMurray, Kaylee Klein, and Darby Honeycutt are all former indoor volleyball athletes who have transitioned to beach volleyball. Campuses from New Jersey to California have built sandboxes and artificial beaches to support the sport, with the number of programs expanding to 69 at the Division I and Division II levels. Some consider beach volleyball more challenging because instead of a team with 6 designated positions, 2 players do it all. This, along with the attitude of the sport, has made the change a welcome one.
Indoor was very political, and beach was kind of like very chill, like I love the atmosphere of it. You're in it 100%. You can't get taken out. If you're messing up, you just gotta learn what's going on and fix it right there.
Lauren, Kaylee, and Darby all attended high school in Arizona and even played against one another in the same conference, making the switch from competitor to teammate quite interesting.
It was kind of that rivalry, like we need to beat each other. It was a friendly rivalship.
With some still holding on to that rivalry.
Desert Vista all the way. Mountain Point, never.
Though Lauren, Kaylee, and Darby first encountered each other as high school competitors, they eventually became teammates and close friends playing youth club sports in Arizona for RPM Sand. The premier beach volleyball club not only focuses on training, but stresses the importance of building lifelong friendships, something the trio has found beneficial for their play here at CSUN.
We've all grown together, and like coming to CSUN has been amazing.
Lauren in her junior season and Kaylee and Darby in their sophomore seasons won't see any game action until spring. But the 3 of them look forward to hitting the sand and getting another shot at the Big West title. From Northridge, California, Erica Morris, Cronkite News.
CSUN finished 4th in the Big West Conference last season.
A typical day for the Sun Devil equipment staff begins before sunrise.
Cronkite News reporter Brady King shows us the day-to-day grind they go through for the team.
Mondays are off days for ASU football players, but not for Jerry Neely and his equipment staff. So what does an equipment staff do? Well, the proper question is, what don't they do?
No one really knows what we do, but it's so encompassing, and not only do we do all the laundry and get all that stuff ready and turn from practice, but we're also in charge of maintaining the helmets and shoulder pads and issuing uniforms, sizing the uniforms, all the cloth and gear that the athletes and coaches receive.
On top of taking care of all the swag, the 15 student equipment managers are expected to execute during practice.
They help out, set up the field, help with the coaches with their position drills, help spot the ball.
After the morning practice, it's back to packing and preparing players for game day.
They can come to the stadium on game day completely naked and not have to worry about it.
By the time lunch rolls around on Thursdays, the equipment staff will have this entire 52-foot-long semi-truck completely filled with anything, and I mean literally anything, that the players or coaching staff might need for the upcoming road trip.
It's a constant anxiety every night. We have all these checklists and we check things off 1,000 times.
So have they ever forgotten something?
Can I plead the 5th on that one? We've had some instances where we've forgotten some things. But the way I like to say it is, if no one else knows, then it doesn't really matter.
The stress the staff goes through 7 days a week doesn't go unnoticed by ASU players and coaches.
I think Jerry gets here like 4:30, 5 o'clock, and he's here till 5 o'clock in the night. Even Saturday after the game, they were still here till 2, 3 in the morning.
I was taught early in college that the most important guy in the building is the equipment guy, and you don't realize that really as a player until you get older.
Seamstress, stylist, laundromat, and friend. Wearing all these hats, or helmets if you will, has its perks. For Neely, it's mentoring his student managers and being a part of a Division I football team with a family-first mentality.
We work with a staff that is very, very, very family-oriented. When my wife travels, my daughter comes up to the facility and can hang out in the office and draw me great pictures that I can hang on my walls. And it's without missing a beat. No one cares, you know, she's welcomed.
Now, back to that question of what an equipment manager does, the answer is simple.
They do everything, pretty much. That's the easiest way to put it.
In Tempe, Brady King, Cronkite News.
That's it for this special edition of Cronkite News. Thank you for joining us. For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
Millions of people die every year from drinking dirty water. I would never have felt I had the ability to do something without ASU pushing me. We built filtration systems out of local materials with the people. To see those kids drink clean water for the first time, it's the most rewarding feeling that you can ever have. I went to ASU because I wanted to change the world. The thing I never would have expected is how the world would have changed me.